people can earn the same income for 20 years and end up in completely different financial positions. One feels rich every month but owns very little that grows. The other never looks rich, yet quietly builds assets that compound in the background. The difference is not always discipline, luck, or even salary. More often it is the sequence of purchases they made. That idea sounds too simple at first because most people think of purchases as consumption, things that leave the account and disappear. But some purchases do the opposite. They change your earning power, reduce future costs, improve decision quality, or create assets that keep paying back long after the money leaves your wallet. In other words, not every expense is an expense. Some are quietly forms of leverage. And that is where the misunderstanding begins. We are taught to ask, can I afford this today? When the better question is, what will this purchase do to my next 10 years? The purchases that build wealth fastest are rarely flashy. They are often boring, practical, and easy to dismiss. But over time, they alter the shape of your financial life in ways most people never notice until it is too late. One of the most powerful examples is a reliable vehicle purchased for utility, not status. A car is usually framed as a liability, and often it is. But there is a difference between buying a machine that depreciates while delivering transport and buying a symbol that drains cash through payments, insurance, repairs, and replacement anxiety. For many workers, especially those whose income depends on punctuality, mobility, or multiple client visits, dependable transportation is not a luxury. It is a tool that protects earnings. The hidden wealth effect is not that the car itself appreciates. It is that the right car prevents missed shifts, job instability, towing fees, and the enormous financial damage of being trapped in constant repairs. A cheap car that strands you can be far more expensive than a modestly priced one that runs for years. Wealth is often built by avoiding preventable disruption. The same logic applies to a quality mattress and sleep setup, which most people would never place on a list of wealth-building purchases. Yet sleep is one of the few inputs that directly affects productivity, impulse control, mood, and long-term health. A growing body of research links poor sleep to worse decision-making and higher rates of unhealthy spending behavior. That matters because financial outcomes are not determined only by income and interest rates. They are determined by the quality of the decisions you make when tired, stressed, and distracted. A person who sleeps badly is not just less productive. They are more likely to overpay, miss deadlines, make emotional purchases, and underperform at work. A good mattress does not compound like an index fund, but it can improve the habits that make investing possible in the first place. In that sense, it pays a hidden return. A third purchase that builds wealth faster than people realize is tools that reduce recurring costs. This is where many households leak money without noticing. A water filter that replaces endless bottled water. A pressure cooker or air fryer that cuts food waste and makes home cooking easier. A printer, sewing kit, basic home repair tools, or a decent set of kitchen equipment that reduces the need for constant outsourcing. At first glance, these look like small household conveniences, but their true value comes from turning repeated expenses into one-time expenses. That is one of the most underappreciated mechanics of wealth creation. Not every gain needs to be dramatic. Sometimes the wealth-building move is simply to stop paying the same tax over and over. The reason this matters is that most people underestimate the cumulative effect of small recurring costs. A few dollars here and there feels harmless because the pain is low at the moment of purchase. But when you annualize it, the picture changes. A daily convenience purchase, a subscription that barely gets used, or a recurring service that could be replaced with a one-time tool can quietly consume thousands over time. The hidden math is brutal because repetition disguises magnitude. Wealth grows not only when you earn more, but when you stop letting small fixed costs carve away your future capital. Then there are purchases that improve earning power directly. Education, certifications, software, equipment, or training tied to a specific marketable skill. This is where the conversation becomes more nuanced, because not all education is an investment. Some degrees are expensive signals with weak returns. Some courses are marketing with a login. But when training materially increases the rate at which you can earn, the math can be extraordinary. A freelancer who buys a design suite and learns to use it well. A tradesperson who invests in specialized tools that let them take higher margin jobs. A salesperson who studies communication, negotiation, or a language relevant to their market. These purchases are not consumed in the usual sense. They expand the set of problems you can solve for money. The overlooked principle is that labor income is often the largest asset most people will ever own, even if it never appears on a balance sheet. If a purchase improves that asset, it can produce a higher lifetime return than many investments. Economists have long noted that human capital is a major driver of wealth, and the catch is that people often think of investing only as buying stocks or property. But if a $1,500 purchase helps increase annual income by even a few $1,000s for several years, the return can dwarf the price. The challenge is to distinguish genuine skill building from expensive credential chasing. The best purchases in this category are specific, measurable, and linked to actual income generation. Another surprisingly powerful purchase is insulation, efficiency upgrades, or high-quality appliances for the home. This may sound unglamorous, but utility costs are the kind of permanent drag that quietly compound against you. A better water heater, improved insulation, LED lighting, energy-efficient windows, or even a well-designed thermostat can reduce ongoing bills for years. Homeowners often think of these as maintenance expenses, but financially, they function like a private hedge against inflation. When energy prices rise, efficient homes absorb the shock better. When equipment breaks less often, replacement costs fall. When comfort improves, the home itself becomes easier to live in without adding more monthly spending. This reveals a broader truth. Wealth is not only about returns, it is also about resistance to financial leakage. Two households can earn the same amount, but the one with lower fixed costs keeps more of each paycheck. That retained cash can then be invested, which means the initial purchase creates a second-order effect. It lowers pressure today and increases capital tomorrow. That is why the right home improvement is not decoration, it is infrastructure. The final category is perhaps the most misunderstood: purchases that preserve your ability to stay healthy. This includes preventive healthcare, dental work, vision correction, ergonomic desks, supportive shoes, and sometimes therapy or mental health treatment when it is genuinely needed. These are easy to dismiss because they do not feel like investments in the conventional sense. But illness, pain, and chronic stress are profoundly expensive. They reduce work capacity, increase absenteeism, shorten attention spans, and amplify bad financial decisions. A neglected tooth can become a major bill. A bad back can change a career trajectory. Unmanaged stress can push people into convenient spending, debt, and disengagement. The hidden reality is that health costs are not only medical, they are economic. A person who can work consistently, think clearly, and avoid cascading problems is preserving the engine that generates all future income. That makes certain health-related purchases wealth-building in a very literal sense. They do not merely make life better, they protect the productive system underneath life. What ties all of these together is a deeper definition of wealth. Wealth is not just having money in an account. It is having more control over your future cash flow. It is owning assets, systems, and capabilities that keep working after the purchase is made. Some purchases do this directly by appreciating or generating income. Others do it indirectly by lowering costs, reducing risk, or improving the quality of decisions. The common mistake is judging a purchase only by its visible price. The better approach is to ask what it replaces, what it prevents, and what it enables. That is why many of the fastest wealth-building purchases look underwhelming from the outside. They are not status symbols. They do not impress strangers. They rarely get discussed on social media. But they strengthen the economic structure of a person's life. They reduce friction, extend earning power, protect against waste, and create more room for compounding. And compounding is often less about dramatic gains than about removing the leaks that keep people from accumulating anything at all. So the next time someone says wealth is built by cutting every purchase to the bone, that is only half true. The real skill is not refusing to spend. It is knowing which purchases consume value and which purchases create it. A good car, better sleep, practical tools, skill-building equipment, efficient home upgrades, and health-related spending can all accelerate wealth faster than people expect because they change the economics of future years, not just the balance of this one. In the end, the important question is not whether a purchase feels responsible or irresponsible in the moment, it is whether it improves the system that produces your future options. That is a much more useful way to think about money because it shifts attention away from appearances and toward outcomes. And once you see purchases through that lens, wealth stops looking like a random outcome of income and luck. It starts to look like the cumulative result of a few intelligent decisions that quietly made every later year easier than the last.